Hey everyone, this is the DeFi download at Permissionless 2022, brought to you by Bancor. I'm joined here by the managing partner of Dragonfly Capital, Haseeb Qureshi. Haseeb, we talked about a year ago about mercenary farming. You were talking to me about the fact that liquidity mining in its current state isn't sustainable, and I feel like a lot of what you described to me at the time was heresy, and now it's proving to, I think, be true. So I guess, what are your thoughts in terms of the state of liquidity mining in 2022? What are some of the improvements that might be made?
So it's a good question. So just to briefly summarize what my point was, I think it was about a year ago. The idea was that a lot of liquidity mining that's taking place today is not productive. It's basically giving out rewards to miners, farmers, liquidity miners who are not actually productively contributing to the success of a protocol. And in the early days, it was more true that when you distribute mining rewards, you're giving it out to retail. You're giving it out to your users in your community. And increasingly today, it's mostly going out to hedge funds, traders, bots. It's not going out to the people. Right. And that, I think it's becoming increasingly clear that that is the status quo. And a lot of that has reached sort of an apotheosis with the collapse of Anchor. Right? Anchor, which was the chief sink for UST, which is a stablecoin that collapsed last week. Anchor was a protocol that basically offered 20% APYs, effectively, liquidity mining, although they were doing it with cash rather than with another token. Although ANC was also, ANC, the native token of Anchor, was incentivizing the depositors, the borrowers, and then they were using a cash reserve to incentivize the depositors. So I think that's caused a lot of soul searching within crypto, to realize hey, this stuff, not only is it not sustainable, but it didn't actually get us anywhere, right? There's so many protocols in crypto that have yield farmed so much assets and have nothing to show for it, right? There is no long-term community, they're not long-term holders, they're not long-term community members. The only way you get that is the old-fashioned way, is by building a great product and engaging your community. So I think where things are going, it's twofold. One is that we're going to see much less liquidity mining. That's the first thing, kind of obvious, okay? All right, what are we going to see instead? So one thing I think we're going to see instead is with the advent of on-chain KYC, I've been advancing this theory that I've talked about a few times now, that I think KYC is going to grow on-chain. But it's not going to be KYC for compliance, it's going to be KYC for marketing. So here's what I mean, okay? So think today about why is it that on-chain derivatives protocols are so much smaller than FTX or Binance, right? Why? Well, the answer is that, look, if you're DYDX or GMX or one of these on-chain derivatives protocols, you have no ability to tell who is a hedge fund, who is a day trader, and who is a bot. You have no idea, okay? Imagine that you're Coinbase or you're FTX. Now, if you're Coinbase or FTX, what you do is you give incentives, you give referral fees, you give all these bonuses for retail traders, and if you're an institution, you don't give out any of those rewards, right? But if you're retail, you charge much higher fees. And if you're institutions, you charge super low fees, right? That is your core business model. Your core business model is figuring out who your user is and charging them differently and marketing to them differently, right? Now imagine how profitable Coinbase would be if they had no idea who their users were. If they had no idea who was retail and who were institutions, they would be screwed. That is exactly the position that DYDX is in. DYDX has no idea who is retail, who's Alameda, and who's a bot. They have no clue. And if you are running that kind of exchange, how on earth, the core mechanism of an exchange is to attract retail, and the hedge funds, the sharks, the whales, they come in and they make money off of retail, right? That's the core kind of loop. But the protocols in DeFi today have no idea who their users are. They can't tell. And the only way that they could be able to tell is by deduping those users using something like KYC. KYC is the gold standard, right? That's how every Web2 company figures out whether or not you're a real person. First is a CAPTCHA. If it's I only have a slight need to figure out who you are. If I really need to know who you are, the gold standard is KYC. And so I think that 2 years from now, what we will see is that if you want to use a protocol in DeFi, you don't need a KYC. You can use it without KYCing. But if you want to get paid rewards, If you want to join their loyalty program, if you want to get an airdrop, you will need to KYC so that I know that you're a real user, that you're a real community member, and you're not just one of the 5,000 addresses of Alameda or Jump or whatever. That's where I think DeFi is going to go. And when we see these liquidity mining rewards, they'll still be there, but they'll be there for retail only. That's where I think the space is going.
It's so interesting. You actually just mentioned airdrops, and I'm curious, like, as we're talking about what's been broken with like mercenary mining, I think incentivizing behaviors that we shouldn't incentivize. What do you think about airdrops lately? Like my take with optimism was, I thought it looked like a much more thoughtful sort of criteria. And so I've been a little more optimistic actually just about airdrops in general. Right. But yeah, I mean, like, what do you think? Like, is this just catering to users who have come to expect that, like, I put $100 through this, now give me $10,000 in token rewards?
Yeah. I think when we look back on airdrops of this cycle, we will realize in retrospect that this shit was also not sustainable, right? And that, like, the idea...
No, not what I want to hear. You're supposed to say that it is sustainable,
and I'm going to give you $10,000 as a reward for that, right? Like, that obviously cannot be the equilibrium going forward, right? That's bull market stuff. Now, people have done some analyses of airdrops and like how, what people actually do with airdrops. And if you sort of think of airdrops as, there are multiple mechanisms for airdrops, right? Multiple things they do. One of them is to reward people retroactively. Another thing is to distribute the distribute the token in a more decentralized way. And the third thing is to actually acquire users. Right? If you airdrop to these users, maybe they'll come use your protocol. Okay. So what we've seen is that the question is, how good are airdrops actually accomplishing these three goals? Okay. So at incentivizing usage, how good are airdrops? They're okay, right? At incentivizing usage, but the usage is not sticky. So people will go and play around with your protocol once because they're like, yo, if there's an airdrop, just in case, I'm gonna like go play around with your protocol. But like, I'm not gonna use it again. I'll use it once, or I'll do it like 5 times, because I guess that was what the other guy did. 5 usages was enough to win their airdrop. So I'll do it exactly 5 times. But like the week after your airdrop is over, I'm not coming back. Why would I come back? Right? So that's one, is that once, like it works until you are cynical about it. Once everyone's cynical about it, it doesn't work anymore, right? So that's number one. Number two, how good is it actually distributing tokens? Well, the problem with this for airdrops is that we know that from doing data analysis, most airdrops are, one, either sold immediately, or two, they are never even claimed. A small minority of tokens are actually held long-term by long-term holders who will eventually use or sell the token, right? But the vast majority of tokens are either sold immediately or they're never even claimed, which tells you that the efficacy of these airdrops is extremely low at even decentralizing the token holding base. Now, the third thing is to get long-term holders, long-term users. And the answer is that they're terrible at that. That people have already given up on the idea.
We know that.
Taken seriously. That we know. So the reality today is that the reason why I think from today you're seeing still the default towards airdrops, one is that other people are still doing it. It'll just take some time for people to sort of regulate away from this. But second is that people just don't want to get yelled at on Twitter. That's why mostly people are doing these airdrops. I think you're going to see airdrops go down massively over the next year, both in the amount that's airdropped and the frequency of these airdrops. But I think if we do see airdrops more going forward, they're going to be, again, gated by knowing who are real users and who are bullshit users.
Okay, so then one last question. Do you think then the answer is for some of the like DeFi OG tokens to like rethink their tokenomics? Like, this is a talking point I wasn't expecting for years, but I've already started to sort of hear, just from founders. Actually, Kane was very forthright about it. We talked on Twitter Spaces, and he said, "Yeah, I think that SNX needs a rethink. I think the tokenomics are outdated," and I was very surprised. I had never heard that. The fact that he said it publicly, and
Rune has said the same thing about Maker. So it's definitely, DeFi Gen 1, it's kind of like a lot of old school, it's a little bit like, JP Morgan looking at all the stuff happening in crypto and being like, wow, that's so cool what you guys are doing over there. I'd like a little bit of that, you know? It's like, it's like I put the hat on backwards, I like, you know, kind of come to one of your parties. I think that's how Gen 1 DeFi feels about Gen 2 DeFi, right?
Oh, totally.
But at the same time, Gen 1 DeFi is also sitting pretty because everything in Gen 1 DeFi held strong. Nothing in Gen 1 DeFi got hacked or blew up, whereas there's a lot of stuff in Gen 2 DeFi that stopped looking so smart, right? That's right. A lot of hacks, a lot of failures, a lot of Oracle depeggings, and of course, you know, the Terra failure to top it all off. So I think it's a look. You would not be doing your job if you weren't trying to learn from the generation that comes after you, because there are genuine things to learn from them, right? There are a lot of advantages to the DeFi 2.0 tokenomics that DeFi 1.0 can learn from. But the reality is that, and this is the thing I think that we're all going to learn as an industry, is that your tokenomics don't matter that much. Which people don't like to hear that, but I think that's largely the story of this cycle, is that your tokenomics don't matter that much, right? So like, if you look at, you know, Uniswap, what even are their tokenomics, right? You look at, you know, MakerDAO, most boring tokenomics I've ever seen. You look at, you know, Compound, Aave, very vanilla token economics, and the fancier stuff all got destroyed, right? And so now what that tells you is that, like, look, the commonality is not that your tokenomics are boring or that it doesn't do anything. The commonality is that your product is a great product. That's what matters. And your tokenomic schemes can do something in the short term, but in the long run, it's all about product. And so if you can't build a great product, and that's what brings in a great community, is a great product, nothing else matters. So the story of a bull market is that it's all about alchemy. It's all about, you take this thing, you transmute it, and it becomes gold, right? We find different machines that we believe can perform alchemy. In a bear market, it's all back to basics. It's all about build great products. That's what bear markets are all about, and that's what I think is going to be the rallying cry of the next year.
Dude, this was so much fun. I like prepped you with like, let's talk about one or two things, and like, here we are. I could just keep you here for the next few hours. Well, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
I say hi.
Yeah, of course. And I hope I didn't bum everyone out too much, but.
Oh, no. It's
like, look, I'm already in the bear market energy. I feel like this is the first bear market conference, so we should embrace it.
I feel so much more comfortable in this market too. Like, I think like if you're a long-term believer in what needs to be built, I mean, this is where I feel most comfortable. In fact, I've spent more of my time, at least in my own crypto career, I've spent more of it in a bear market. It's just the newbies, you know, you always feel sorry for them.
That's right. The new generation, yeah, they are in for a ride.
I'm like, always be prepared for another 50% drop. Yeah, you think it can't drop another 50%, but it always can.
The up-only Gen Zers, it'll be tough for them. But you know, the one thing that is good in a bull market, in a bear market, is that in a bull market, content, it's all short form. It's all Twitter. It's all you know, tweet storms. In a bear market, it's long form. Yeah. Blog posts, post reading, white papers. I'm looking forward. That's where I thrive. I'm much better long form than I'm short form, so I'm looking forward to that.
I've definitely felt lost at times, like the last, I would say 18 to 24 months, which goes all the way back to like the DeFi summer 2020. Right. I remember like watching all the fruit coins like mined, and I think anyone would assume, oh, DeFi dead, you must have participated. I was like, I didn't. I was in like Compound and all the usual sort of stuff, but I never could bring myself to it. It was just so high risk. And then after that's over, you're like, what's next? And then the answer was a whole lot of shit. But at the end of the day, like all of that froth does bring on a lot of eyeballs, brings in new attention. And I think like, I mean, if you look around the conference, like it's remarkable all the, you know, brilliant people that are building and here to stay. So I'm still bullish.
So much education, right? So many people have got inculcated into the core concepts of crypto in the last 2 years. Yeah. Even if prices are down, even if they lost a bit of money. I mean, I lost a lot of money, obviously. Most people who have been participating in this market, like we were all long. We all went through it together. But the other thing about a bear market is it also creates a lot more solidarity. You know, in bull markets, everyone's like, oh, I made money on this, but you didn't, and you're an idiot because you didn't buy my thing. And in a bear market, it's like, look, we're all morons. We all lost money, you know,
It forges a stronger relationship. That's like, right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, it's there's a lot to look forward to. So, well, anyways, thanks so much, Haseeb.